My name is Livy. I just remember picking dandelions with my friends in elementary school during recess. Cool.
My name is Mitri, and I just like dandelions and like blowing them so that they fly away.
My name is Megan. When I think of dandelions, I think kind of like of making a wish. It's like when I was a kid, I remember if you can get all the like things off with one blow, you get to make a wish.
Yeah.
So that's what I associated with.
I'm Stella, and I think of like making little flower crowns in elementary school.
My name is Eden, by the way. My relationship with dandelions started with this project, which was generated over this summer, so I don't have a very long-standing relationship with them. But as you were about to be subjected to, that relationship got a lot more complicated when I started researching them. So what I'm about to do is hand you a piece of paper. I'm just going to be upfront. Don't eat this, because when I've handed it to other people, they have tried to eat it. This is not the food. I'm going to put the food on the paper. By the way, do we have your consent to video you?
Yeah.
Should have asked that as we were setting it up. But you caught me right as I was coming back from a snack. So my mental acumen was lackluster. So this is pickled dandelion root.
Oh.
What are your feelings on this?
I've heard that it's edible. I've never tried it.
Well, it is edible. I'm feeding you poison. I'm gonna give you a slightly chewier piece. How does it feel?
Not great, to be honest.
You don't like it? You're gonna hurt its feelings. Doesn't it look sentient?
Okay, so if you want to, you can put it in your mouth and feel free to talk about it as you're eating it.
Oh, hey, it's not that bad.
It's kind of hard to chew though. Like,
It's sweet. It kind of reminds me of you know, like, do you ever eat like pickled
Yanghua.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like pickled too.
It's like, because I'm from Taiwan and her mom's from Taiwan, and it's like, it reminds me of something we eat like during Chinese New Year, which is like, it's basically like pickled vegetables, but yeah, it's like very similar flavor.
Nice. I wish I had my fact sheet pulled up in front of me so I could tell you the exact numbers, but dandelions are actually really nutritious, and they have medicinal benefits too. So, full out there with my bias. I'm like a hard sciences type of person. I've been a big science nerd my entire life, and I think that there's a really complicated relationship with like the Western industrial, like colonial medical complex, right? And at the same time, you've got homeopathy and traditional medicine, but also a lot of pseudoscience and things that are just straight up dangerous and do not work. And so I think that relationship is very complicated socially, and medicine should, in my opinion, be whatever works. But dandelion is really nice because it is both homeopathically valid as well as certified by modern medical science. So it's like, if you want to pick something that's non-controversial to call medicine, pick a dandelion. Well, everything's controversial. What am I talking about? But both sides of the spectrum agree that this thing is pretty great, and it's been used you can find it in the medical record going really far back. Like the Romans used it, it was used in ancient Asia, the Chinese particularly liked it, and all the way up to today, the University of Windsor, Canada, I'm telling you this so you can Google it, their cancer research department is pretty famous, and they've been doing research on dandelion root, which is what you're eating, and it's been shown to cause cancerous cells to commit suicide, like apoptosis is what they call it. And it's crazy because this could be one of the most humane treatments of cancer, preventative as well as treatments of what you're holding in your hand. And they feel so strongly about how reliable these results are that they started human trials in 2015 for people who are currently undergoing cancer. So, like, whoa, that's cool for a science nerd at least. I'm sure there are other cool things about dandelions for people who aren't as nerdy as me. But really, why I'm telling you that is to try and plant a seed in your head about resources. So, did you know before coming in here that you could eat dandelion root?
No.
I just remember kids would like eat it, but not because they knew that it was
Not because
just
it
for
was
fun.
beneficial. Yeah, I didn't know either. Like, the reason I'm telling you all this is because I learned it through a research project that started in May of this year. It's not like I'm a dandelion expert descending from the sky to give you the good word about dandelions. Like, I'm in this with you, which is part of the reason why I'm in the ground. Like, I don't want to loom over you so I'm some sort of institutional figure. But there are resources around you that people are not only ignoring, but also actively destroying. So, do you know people in your neighborhood, or are you people who use pesticides on your lawn to get rid of dandelions and other weeds?
Yeah, it's like a big problem in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
We don't do it, but all my neighbors do. So, get rid of all the dandelions.
And that's, if you were to put the dandelions in your own yard, that could be dangerous, because dandelions are what we call an indicator species for climate change, because they're really good at showing you what's going on in their environment because they're highly absorptive. They're particularly good at picking up heavy metals in the air or the water. So that if you're near an industrial plant, if you sample the dandelions nearby, that can tell you stuff about the pollution levels. So being in a neighborhood with people who use a lot of pesticides, if you wanted to eat dandelions, it might not be so great for you. I'm not saying don't do it, but I would say sample the dandelion beforehand if you're interested. So, other things about climate change. What's your relationship to that? Because the reason we're talking about dandelions is to give you an in to think about the ways that your environment is changing and the resources that are nearby that might help us through the way that the world is going to shift. Any thoughts on that? While I'm pouring you tea. This is dandelion root tea.
Thanks.
What were the, you said they used it to treat the cancer patients in 2015.
They're testing it now.
They're still testing it?
Yeah.
So like have they maybe hypothesized how the patients respond?
Yep, so they've shown it to work on cancer cells that are isolated, but this is when they started human trials for it as a medicine. I think in December. You can look it up on the Windsor website too. Thank you. So, climate change. Does anybody want to speak to how much they know about that, how they feel about it? It's kind of a big topic.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know enough about it as I should. Like there's always, I don't know, more to learn about it.
I took like just 2 classes in high school about environmental science, so we covered it a lot. But I kind of forgot like the hard facts, but it was introduced in those classes. Like you can't talk about the environment without talking about climate change. So.
I feel like it's just like such an easy topic to ignore sometimes, like because you can become like so complacent about it because you feel like as an individual you can't really make a difference, and that like makes it really easy to ignore this issue as a whole. But that's why like there's also a stand in there that's really cool, and they gave out like bottles of water.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, like melted ice that like makes it easier to like kind of like when you look at it, like it's like you can't just, like ignore it anymore. But like in the past, I'm kind of not that great about like being very cautious of like what I throw in the trash. So like I don't have like different bins in my room for like my different types of trash, and I'm trying to change that right now. But yeah, it's I just think it's an easy issue to ignore.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, especially living here. It's kind of like, I don't know, there are like like refugees out there who are refugees because of climate change and like all these things happening, but like living here, it's kind of like, oh, like there's so much space, like everything's fine, like
Yeah.
there's no pollution, but like there is.
Yeah, and that's real. You know, this is a no shame zone. We call this structure the refuge because this is supposed to be a space where we hope that we feel comfortable talking about an issue that tends to be high in emotionality and guilt and anger. So like this is not the space for that to be a shameful topic. Did you notice that this is a composting bin?
Yeah.
So this is like a zero waste project. Do you think that if it's available to you, you'd use compost and recycling? Is that something that you see? Like when you go to throw away something, is there a compost or recycling and a trash?
Like mostly at Mac, like McAllister, because I mean we're trying to be zero waste by 2020 here. But like outside of McAllister, it's like difficult to like, especially just like they just have huge garbage cans for all types of trash.
Yeah, and I live in India, and like over there, I think even though everybody is aware of climate change, like no steps as a community is being taken to sort of rectify or like just change our ways.
Yeah.
So like especially for like garbage collection and stuff, it just all goes into one trash. So really the whole idea of like compost and recycling and separating trash is what I first saw at McAllister. So it's a new idea, and I don't know how to like even implement it back home. So that's kind of an issue.
Do you think that, do you feel comfortable or feel like you have the power to talk to people around you, government officials, strangers, whoever, about climate change and concerns like that? Like, is it something that you've done before?
Just to people that I don't know, or
Well, when you think about having a conversation about climate change, like we're doing right now, is this something that frequently happens? Does this feel comfortable? Do you think you could do it?
I think when I think about conversations, it's mostly with my family. Like, I feel comfortable talking to them about climate change. So in Taiwan, eating out is really big, and just like getting takeout lunches, and that always comes with a plastic bag. So this summer, my goal was to not use a plastic bag ever, and so like I was like very vocal about that with my family. Like, oh, like my goal this summer is to not use plastic bags, and so my little sister also started doing that.
Nice.
But like I don't feel like I would be comfortable just like talking about it, especially because I feel like these issues are known, but I don't know if that's true. It's like, to me, I've been aware of them for a long time, so like I kind of assume everyone already knows stuff about this.
Yeah, but out of sight, out of mind, kind of like daily life.
Yeah,
You know, if it's something that's always present, you don't really notice it.
yeah,
If it's a flower you always see and you think it's a weed or a nuisance or too much trouble to deal with, it's like it exits your head until it's pointed out to you. So what we're doing right here is pointing it out. And that bagpipe is helping. But what you said about hard facts reminded me of something that I tend to plug in here right before I give you these. So I realize that there's a lot of trust that you're putting in me as an expert to be telling you things that are facts, and I assure you I'm telling you things that are facts. And this will be the worst thing that I say to you tonight. Climate change has reached the point where it can no longer be stopped. So, because we didn't listen to scientists 20 or 10 years ago, we no longer have the option of living in a world where climate change is not a factor and where fossil fuels aren't wreaking havoc on ecosystems. So what that means is we have to face up to the fact that we need strategies for mitigation and adaptation, because this is a topic that most people find to be big, and when it's big, it's scary and overwhelming. But if you take it in bite-sized pieces, and if you share it with your friends, it really is manageable to think about ways that you can adapt to a new world. And it's going to be a new world that we can't predict, unfortunately. But there are things that you can do to create a relationship with your ecosystem, both the human resources as well as the natural resources, that are more sustainable. But unfortunately, it is going to happen. So it's really a matter of what are you going to do about it? What do you want to do about it, if you want to do anything at all? And these are fortunes for climate change. So your fortune in the new world, questions to think about. And I would appreciate it if you were comfortable talking about it, maybe answering it aloud and talking about it with each other. Because y'all are the community here. I'm just some random person.
Did everyone get the same question?
I don't know. Did you?
I got what makes you most uneasy about the climate crisis.
Yeah.
Did you? I could give you different ones if you want.
Oh, that's okay. I was just wondering, like, if
So you all four got the same one?
Yeah.
That never happens. They're all guys, it's a
they're so
sign.
in sync.
You're gonna be like the next Power Rangers group.
I think for me it's uneasy to, like we all know, like everything, like human life is like, mortality is a concept that we all know, but like just thinking of the entire planet sort of, I don't know, it's just hard to accept that like we're like shortening our own planet's lifespan. So that's something I find hard to accept or just come to terms with, even though I know it's happening.
It's the size of a planet, you know? It's a big issue. It's almost incomprehensible to hear how big it is.
Yeah. I mean, we like talked about this in philosophy class of like wanting to have something that kind of like outlives us even after we're gone. But yeah, like, and we're just, I don't know. It's weird to think about like everything disappearing, and it's because of us.
The bumblebee's about to die. They're gonna put the bumblebee on the endangered species list.
Huh? Yeah, there's like a campaign going on over the summer. I'm sure it's still going on about like saving the bees.
Well, bees, without bees, quite a few of the resources that we rely upon are going to be gone. Even dandelions, like, one of the things that makes dandelions important and why it's so tough to talk about people weeding them and using pesticides on them is they're one of the first foods that dandelions eat. Like, they're one of the very first things that come up again in the spring, and without them, or when the climate has affected their blooming patterns, bumblebees might starve and die. So like because they're very sensitive to their environment, dandelions, they act as what's called an indicator species. They tell you what's going on in the climate, and so that means that their patterns shift. And I mean, we're not going to have dandelions without bees. We're not going to have apples. We're not going to have any number of things that we like.
I remember reading, there's like a list of foods that we just wouldn't have.
Yeah, straight up would not have. That's one of the things that makes me uneasy about climate change. It's like, oh frick, the bees, not my bees.
I think I definitely think about like the animals, because we're just a species of animal living on this planet, and we're supposed to be sharing these resources. But instead, like, I don't know, there's like a lot of guilt with like, I feel being like a human, like taking up all these resources, and like we're the reason why all these species are like going endangered. And it's like, that's so screwed up, you know?
Have you guys ever seen the documentary Cowspiracy?
I bet we were talking about that.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
On like the impact of animal agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have any answers. Just a girl in a plastic booth. But I think that part of the answer is talking to people about it, which is why we're doing this little art piece thing. Because hopefully any conversation that you have about this makes you more likely to have another conversation about it. Do you think that you might? Be like, hey, I ate a freaking dandelion root tonight. Why? That's why.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah.
Do you want to eat another one?
I think I'm good for now. like I think this is like a cool way to like, because it's like, so I didn't know about dandelions before, so it's like a good intro into talking about like climate change.
We have a
Like-
website too.
Oh really?
Yeah, if you want more resources for any of the things that I talked about, like we've got an analysis of the Windsor Cancer Study, we've got a nutrition label that we made up for dandelions that we actually got from the government. So like this is vetted info. A lot of the info on our website is stuff that I researched, and because I'm a huge nerd who cares a lot about science and truth and justice, I promise you that the stuff on the website was pretty obsessively researched. And we also got like tips for urban foraging, tips for how to talk to people about climate change, links to other websites if you're interested in it. It all kind of spirals out from each other. So that's
cool.
makingthebestofit.org.
Okay.
And
Oh, that's easy to remember.
yeah, making the best of it, because that was the secret whammy at the end of the presentation. Is the title of this is making the best of it. So whatever that means to you. And we have bunting around the